But first, a closer look at the race between Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. Chuck Todd is NBC News' political director, and John Baer is a political columnist for the Philadelphia Daily News. Thank you, John, for joining us. Let's start with Chuck Todd. You know, if you look at all these numbers, let's look at the latest Pennsylvania numbers. They just come in now. The LA Times Bloomberg poll has Clinton leading by 5. Look at that, 46-41. The Franklin and Marshall poll has got it 46-40. The Strategic Vision, which is a Republican poll, has got it 49-40. What strikes me, gentlemen, is that Barack cannot break 40. He's stuck down there around 40. Why? Well, and is that a problem? If he runs into Tuesday night at midnight, we're counting the votes, and he's only up to about 42 or 43, this is a blowout.
The fluctuation is her number on all of these polls. And look, there's a lot of bad polling going on in Pennsylvania. But all of them do seem to agree on this Obama number. It is really tight in that 39 to 42 range, and so you just wonder, she planted the seed of doubt on him. So the question now... She can
get a 200,000 vote plurality if that's the case.
If
he stays down in those numbers.
But what do we know about large undecideds close to an election? Large undecideds mean turnout goes down, not up. Now, that would be something different than we had seen in any other primary. So I would just throw out that caution flag. When there are large chunks of undecided, normally in an election that's less than a week away, you have to start wondering, are there certain voting groups who maybe are turned off to both of them now that just don't show up? That may be actually what Clinton is trying to do. Drive up his negatives a little bit. Yes, she knows she's driving up her own negatives, but try to turn off new voters. Try to turn off, and new voters are his voters.
You know, I'm talking there, John Baer, about a possible sweep by Hillary of up to almost 300,000 votes. If she holds to these numbers of, what, 57, 20, 43, if she's got a 14-point spread coming out of Pennsylvania, that could almost cut by a third at least the popular vote lead that Barack has right now nationwide.
Well, no question, Chris, but I mean, the thing that has intrigued me throughout this campaign is polling of younger people. I just don't know. I've talked to a number of national pollsters. I'm sure you have as well. I just don't know how accurate we are in polling younger people.
You think we may have the wrong sample out there? Well, we're not sampling among the younger.
I think if you think about it, they have no landlines. You can't poll on cell phones. And the new registration numbers in Pennsylvania, which are extraordinary, show that the age group, and this is the first time Pennsylvania has been able to categorize new registered voters, all registered voters, by age. And what we saw was from 18 to 34, and for me, 34 is still young. That now makes up 26% of the Democratic vote for next week. If that group hasn't been accurately polled, we might be in for a surprise on Tuesday.
Well, that's a variable. Let's take a look at a problem for Senator Clinton here. The Washington Post poll asked Democrats to pick between Senator Clinton and Senator Obama on several key questions. Obama beat Clinton on honesty by 23 points. This is among Democrats. Clinton won on stronger leader, questioned by 5 points. They were asked who was a better shot of winning in November. Obama won by 31. We can look at those other ones, problems, change, and all that. There were no surprise there. He's the change candidate. He's the honest candidate. He's the winner, Chuck.
Exactly.
The superdelegates want to know who the winner is. And look at that 31. Hold that number up there, 31. She's got experience all the way down the line. We know that. She's got much longer experience in public life than he has. He's a first-termer. But look at the numbers there for electable. That's the one that would grab the superdelegates, I think.
I think that, too. And that's been the problem. And, boy, this Post poll showed it in spades. And that is, yes, she has risen his negatives. Yes, she has raised questions about his electability. But she has not improved the questions people already had about hers. These superdelegates, at the end of the day, the ones that are sitting there undecided, they're not with her because they had doubts about her electability. That's why they're not with her, more so than any other reason. And so, okay, you can prove doubts on his, but as one undecided superdelegate told me earlier this week, we have the 2 most unelectable candidates that we picked from our field, short of Mike Gravel and Dennis Kucinich.
Let's not be totally nihilistic from the Democratic side. Let's go to this question to you, John. It seems to me the CW, the conventional wisdom about Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama is that, oh, Barack Obama could win this election with 55%. He could lose it with 45%. He could blow out either way. But Hillary Clinton's sort of a predictable 48%er. She'll get just short of a majority and she'll lose. And therefore, people like John McCain would rather run against Hillary. Is that still the conventional wisdom? Is it your wisdom?
I think it is the conventional wisdom, and we have seen evidence in Pennsylvania of the kind of thing that was rumored earlier in the campaign, which is Republicans changing their registration in order to vote. As you know, Pennsylvania, you have to be a Democrat to vote in the primary. There has been evidence that that's happened in Pennsylvania. The Republicans have gone
You mean strategic voting?
Strategic voting and vote for Hillary to get her on the ballot because they do believe...
You mean ditto heads?
Ditto heads, absolutely.
Do you realize what kind of a klutz do you have to be to take orders on how to vote from Rush Limbaugh and to change your party identity so that you can vote for somebody
I don't think
the other party? What have these people got to do? But they have a lot of free time, I'll tell you that.
I just think it's a very marginal vote. It may be just a couple of percentage points, but there is some evidence that it's going on.
Well, there's a lot more evidence in my world of people who are switching over because they like one of the other candidates or they don't like one of the other Democratic candidates. Not that they're doing it to confuse the pollsters or confuse the results. Do you think there's more people out there to confuse the result?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think that the big you have hundreds of thousands of new voters in Pennsylvania over the 06 election, over the last general, over the primary, the last presidential primary, and the vast majority of them, there's no doubt in my mind, have changed because they like Senator Obama. Because
they believe in something. How much is Operation Chaos has influenced an election? Is it a small part of the registration drive going on in Pennsylvania?
I think this is a small part because if you look at where we saw Republicans spike in support for Clinton, it showed up in a couple of exit polls, Mississippi and Texas. That's Southerners. Yeah. We've only seen Clinton has done well with crossovers in the South among Republican crossovers.
You mean for devastating, for chaotic purpose?
No, not for chaotic purposes. I think for purposes of that she's the candidate. If they, if they're going to be picking between.
Yeah, they want to pick the easy Democrat.
No, I think they crossed over because they think a Democrat's going to win, so they want to pick the Democrat they're more comfortable with. I think there are more people in the South doing that. I think maybe for racial reasons.
I'm talking about this Rush Limbaugh thing. He says pick Hillary because it'll screw things up.
That is crazy. You know how many times campaigns have tried to do that? You hear about it a lot of times in different states. Oh no, send out activists. It just doesn't work.
But John, you say it's
I don't buy a vote.
John, you say there are people out there trying to confuse the Democrats by getting them to pick the wrong win.
Well, and I also said that it's just a marginal number, just a small percent. But there has been some evidence. I mean, you know as well as I do, Pennsylvania has an awful lot of very conservative counties in the middle of the state, and I've seen some anecdotal evidence that that's going on. Will it make a difference? Probably not.
Yeah, well, the middle of the state has some conservatives. Let's take a look at this response from all voters, not just Democrats. Asked if, this is nationwide, asked if Senator Clinton is honest and trustworthy. Now, these numbers are bad for her. 39% say she's honest and trustworthy. 52 or 58 say she's not. And that's, of course, look at that drop. She was seen as more honest than dishonest back 2 years ago. Now she's seen as more dishonest than honest. Chuck, it seems to me you don't want to come out of a campaign seen as dishonest.
Well, this goes back to the fundamental disagreements that a lot of folks inside Clinton's world had with Mark Penn. Mark Penn's initial strategy...
He's made her dishonest?
No. He decided to have her focus on issues and not worry about her own personal ratings. She had 52-42 on honest trustworthy isn't that great going into a campaign. Her negatives were not that low when she started this campaign, and there were a lot of folks who were advocating humanize her. She needs to make, in the words of one, she needs to make people want to root for her again, want to get behind her, want to cheer her on. Instead, they talked about cherry-picking issues.
I wonder if Tuesday has more to do with that. And I wonder if standing around with a shot and a beer is a little more creepy to people than positive. They wonder what it's up to.